Well, hello. I'm not going to wait as long as I did yesterday, and today I had a topic prepared before I was ready to do the video. So the title is The Paris Agreement on Climate Change. A friend sent me this article, quote, "The real truth about the Paris Agreement on Climate Change," end quote. It is found here, and I provide the entire link. It's interesting to me that all the nations except China have ratified it. They want to be the last, since the Chinese elders are the ones pushing a world that is more honest, fair, and just. It surprised me that the US ratified it along with Canada and much of Europe. As I said, all nations except China. If true, it will also mean agreement on asset-backed, read gold, silver, etc., currencies. No more fiat funny money where the sick joke is on the entire world. My questions are, will this be implemented? How soon? And in what way? Indeed, if you could trust the people that run the United States and the cabal, if you could trust them to keep agreements, that would be an amazingly wonderful thing. But behind them, according to some people, are demons. Could you ever trust a demon to keep their word? I don't think so. They don't keep their word unless they're forced. And there has to be a power stronger than them to do the forcing. Does that power exist? Is there a God or supreme being or supreme intelligence? Are there beings that have good intentions for life and for humanity and for creation? Do such things exist, or are they merely figments of the imagination? These are questions that I have. I'd like to see this implemented as soon as possible. The meeting that I went to last night, one of the things that they said was even the new plan to unfold in July is going to be a scam. It's going to look like it's the right thing, but there's deception always underlying the whole thing, and it's another con game, or whatever you want to call it, of the elite establishment. These are the issues that I wish we didn't have to deal with, but we must deal with. Montague Kuhn, or Keen, or whatever his name is, I heard an article or read an article that he put out, his latest channeled message. And he says we've got to get our act together or they're going to destroy us. And he's right. Are we going to wake up enough to actually do the things that we need to do to take the world back from these criminal elements, whether they're embodied or disembodied, whether they're spirits or materially manifest? We have to take the world back. Now, I talked about overpopulation in the previous two videos, although that wasn't initially my plan. But I want to say something about that, because somebody said, have you been to the big cities? Have you seen how crowded it is and how hard it is to get around? Yes, I've been to Melbourne, Australia, which is the second largest city there. I wasn't really in Sydney. But I've been to New York. I've been to LA. I've been to some of the larger cities here in the United States, Philadelphia, of course. And yes, it's congested. But I've also been throughout the United States, and I see lots of rural areas where there's hardly any people at all. It's not about overpopulation, it's about distribution of people, just the same as the monetary system is about distribution of assets. There are plenty of assets to go around, plenty of assets, but they are not distributed honestly. They are not distributed fairly. And you see the world that we have to deal with. You see the corruption of the ownership of corporations. A corporation, the creation of a corporation was the biggest fraud ever committed. But it stems from paying. It stems from the money system itself, which was the fraud, the beginning fraud of paying people to do the slave labor that the cabal, the leadership, the elite wanted done, because they found it was much more effective to get people to think that they were being rewarded for their efforts in the form of payment, rather than just doing it for the good of society, rather than thinking altruistically. And some suggest, and I would agree with it, that somewhere along the line in our history, certain parts of the human psyche were turned off, so that we don't have the ability any longer to see the bigger picture, so that we don't grasp where we're at and how we fit into the scheme of things. We've become disconnected from the whole. And you know the Illuminati distributes information on a need-to-know basis. They have certain groups of people that are given this piece of the puzzle, and another group is given that piece of the puzzle, and another group another piece of the puzzle. But nobody knows all three pieces, and of course there are more than three pieces. But basically, there's the economy, there's the government, and there's the enforcement. Those are the three big elements, I suppose, of the cabal. You've got to have those three to run and operate the entire thing. But they're all based on a limited humanity, on a humanity that has been knocked down, not just a peg or two, but knocked out almost. We are alive, but only physically alive. We're not spiritually aware. We're not in tune with any bigger picture. We don't see ourselves in the scheme of things. That's why we compete, because we feel there's part of us missing, and so we have to compete to try to make up for what we feel we don't have. So they've created a have and have not culture, when God created a culture where everybody had abundance, where everybody had whatever was needed, and it was provided without a lot of effort. Anastasia demonstrated that in her life, and as it was written by Vladimir Megra. I've mentioned that in many other videos. We need to have change. The Paris Agreement sounds good on the surface. The question is, will it actually be implemented? Will they break up the corporations? Will they go give up the fiat currency where they can create money out of thin air? Will all of these things just pass away? And will we be able to recover our full stature as created human beings with all of our channels turned back on, so that we're not limited anymore, but so that we become fully human instead of the partial humanity that we've come to accept as our reality? These are things that I wrestle with, and no, I don't believe it'll ever happen without divine intervention. You've heard me say that again and again. I will probably say it yet again and again. We have to have something stronger than that which has taken over come in and dethrone that which has wrongfully taken the throne of human culture and claimed ownership of humanity. We have to have something stronger fix that. It's not going to happen by humans waging some kind of a war against these people that are heavily armed and totally mind controlled. You're just not going to do it. You're going to have a robot society. That's what the movie that I saw last night was about. It was about a robots of society, where robots were the police force. They used robots for everything because that's all the elite can do, is dehumanize humans and create artificially created beings, robots, to do the enforcement. Anyway, that's my message for today, and I hope you've paid attention. And yes, I welcome feedback. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I might just say I don't agree, but I'm not going to go into long dissertations or arguments with anybody. Anyway, that's the message. Take it or leave it, and namaste.